We speak now to the director at the Water Community Action Network, or WaterCan, Dr. Ferrial Adam. Good morning. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning, Ms. Chaba, and good morning to all your viewers.
Can you elaborate on the concerns that WaterCan has regarding Rand Water's planned 86-hour repairs in Johannesburg?
So I think, firstly, we're not opposed to maintenance. We've been calling for maintenance for as long as I can remember. So I think that is really important. What we're saying is that this comes off the back of many Joburg suburbs and areas that have not had water for weeks. Areas like Coronation that has not, that didn't have water for about 10 days where they had to protest. And then you have this kind of maintenance. So while they're saying, yes, the maintenance is, 13th to the 16th, we know that water is not like electricity. You don't just flick a switch and then you have water in your taps. During this time, reservoirs could run dry. And then, of course, it needs time to fill. So that means that it could last up to 7 to 10 days to get reservoirs working properly again. And that then seeps into Christmas. That just means it's almost a whole December where a lot of Joburgers have not had water. And so we were saying, we're not saying cancel it, but please give people some time to just have a restful season.
How do you think the repairs will impact, the already strained water supply in Joburg?
So we must remember that the Rand Water maintenance is about bulk supply. What we're experiencing at a Joburg level is a city issue. It's a municipal issue, Joburg water related. So we'll still have the same kind of cutoffs. We'll still have pipe bursts. We'll still have leaks. We'll still have our leaking reservoirs. It doesn't mean that this maintenance is going to be the silver bullet we're all looking for. No, we have to make sure that the maintenance and infrastructure in the city of Joburg, through increased budgets, through Joburg Water, is improved over the next 3 to 5 years. So we're going to have this for a while.
And Doctor, what kind of transparent communication is WaterCan calling for from Rand Water, and why is this important for residents?
So I think in our initial communication, we wanted to know if it can be postponed. We were told, no, it cannot, because there's a private contractor. And we were saying, well, then maybe we could speak to the private contractor to think about what's been going on in Joburg, but we couldn't get that kind of detail. So I think that is what we're saying. But I have to add that the updates so far that I have noted and I have seen have been pretty good from Rand Water, in terms of they've given daily updates, they've been clear, and so far it's running on track. So I think over this period that the communication has been better, but I think moving forward, as civil society, we're saying that we need more transparency, both at a Rand Water level as well as a city level, to understand what is the extent of whether it's contracts, whether it's water tanks, what are people paying? What is government paying? How can we also make sure that there aren't any corrupt activities happening? With large contracts, there's always room for something funny to happen. And we're saying the more open and transparent you are, the better it is for everyone.
And how can the city of Joburg and Rand Water ensure that the repairs and any future infrastructure projects are carried out in a way that minimizes disruptions to residents?
I think that with Rand Water, we was just saying in terms of just see what has been happening at a local level before. Because if you're going to have 3 weeks of no water and then you're going to shut people off, it means, another week or so, you're just adding strain. So I think you need to look at trying to communicate. And I know that Joburg Water and Rand Water do meet, but do they actually understand what people are feeling on the ground in terms of not having water? So that for us is important. In terms of the city, during these kind of periods, we need a more present mayor, and to not select which areas you go to because of politics. And let's be honest, I think we're going into 2025, local government elections are in 2026. There is going to be a bit of politicking around water, but I think that there needs to, especially at the city level, better communication that people can understand, Ms. Chaba. Not communication that engineers can understand. That's what we're saying needs to be improved.
And what role do you think that the private sector can play in supporting efforts to address the water crisis in Joburg?
I think that, there's many ways I think that the private sector can assist and can help. One is that when we're looking at saving and improving your water usage, that would be a great place for private sector to start. I've been noticing during level 1 restrictions that shopping malls are still watering their plants during midday. They're using hose pipes, and those kind of things they should be held accountable for as well. So it's not just that, but also, the big users. Who are the big users? Do we know? Like the soft drink companies, the alcohol companies, the ArcelorMittal, those kind of, companies that use a lot of water need to say what they're saving and how they're going to improve on the amount of water that they're using. So that's something that they can do. The other thing is, everyone's talking about public-private partnerships. Government doesn't have money to do this, so we need to have public-private partnerships. I actually think that if we look at it, government may be able to have money, and running into public-private partnerships is fine, because we need that, but we need to be cautious on two things. One, it must not lead to privatization of our resources or privatization of our services completely. And then the second issue is the openness and transparent relationship and partnership that needs to be acknowledged. So those are the important things when you're looking at it. The other thing, Mr. Chaba, is when you have public-private partnerships on big projects where it's going to be a lot of money, we know that it opens the doors for corruption. So how do we make sure that the governance is improved and better to ensure that that doesn't happen? We know what happens. We're in this because we had 10 years of corruption.
What are the potential economic impacts of the water crisis on businesses and industries in Johannesburg?
So we just need to look at what's happening now. I think that there's been, even in, we had a site visit last week and we were listening to a lot of people from the different areas saying that they're telling their family and tourists not to come to Joburg because there's no water. There are Airbnbs that are struggling and have to add in more kind of water tanks or alternatives. So there are small businesses that run on water. They need salons, restaurants. There are small businesses that are affected by not having water. So it affects the economy directly. I think that it also affects health. We know that clinics and hospitals are affected as well. You can't have clinics and hospitals without water. We know that 45% of our clinics already don't have running water. So how they're operating, I have no idea. We know that when we get into the school year, it starts affecting schooling as well. So water impacts everything we do, from the economic side to just education and health.
Are there any lessons, Doctor, that can be learned from other cities or other countries that have faced similar water crises?
I think definitely. I think we need to look at when we look at Johannesburg and the rush to say we need to develop, we need to have more development. We're not looking at whether our infrastructure can actually deal with it. And we're actually causing more strain on our city. So we need to have more holistic planning. You need to have a planning department that's talking to roads, that's talking to water, that's talking to electricity. Can we deal with it? Also, how do we fix what we have? And I think many cities looked at how do we fix what we have right now to make it more sustainable? How do we move from a place that flushes hundreds of millions of liters of water, but in the toilet, in the garden, that's very good drinking water standard. How do we change that so that we have recycled water doing that? We need to be thinking about new approaches to how our relationship of water, and that is something that needs to be done quite urgently. We're not anywhere near that yet.
All right. So before I let you go, Doctor, are there any plans in place to provide support to residents who may be affected by the crisis? And also, what message would you like to convey to residents who are affected by the water crisis?
So I think, people are quite angry and they're very, very frustrated, and we understand that. But I think we also need to know that it is a difficult period. We need to just save as much as we can, use water over this period for the essential things that you need. And it will take a while, a couple of days for the reservoirs to be restored. So I think over this period, we need to think of how do we reuse, recycle water, and that's going to be key to us having water around Christmas. I think that we have asked, by the way, there were areas in Indonesia and in the Joburg South that needed JoJo tanks or needed tanks for old age homes, for elderly, for the sick. And we've been struggling to find that. So I think that there needs to be, and there are people on the ground, so the communities are networking and connecting to charitable organizations that can do that. So I think link into that. If you really cannot leave your home to get water, you need to reach out to your ward councillors and make sure that they assist you. So there's a network, people are using WhatsApp, and use it so that we can get good kind of support mechanisms on the ground. Shouting on the WhatsApps is not going to help anyone at this point.